like to call our meeting to order this morning, and if you'd stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first thing on our agenda this morning is a consent agenda. As approval of the minutes from October 7th, it's approval of payroll, approved vouchers, approve and sign monthly earnings and collection statements from the clerk, clerk of district court, and the sheriff, approve and sign TANF CPI FY25 Q4 report, and review and approve the ad for Historic Preservation Committee board opening. Pleasure of the board.
Madam Chair, move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as listed. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and do the DSR update, which there isn't really a lot of change. The committee has been working, the consultant's been working with staff and working on uses. Probably about halfway through on the definitions of those uses, gaining on it. So hopefully next month we'll have more of a look at that and be scheduling some public meetings before too long to take a look at those. And we know DSR 1 is in operation at this point, started on October 1. Any applications coming in after that time will follow the 2025 Development Standard Regulations. Anything else on DSR? Oh, we're a little bit ahead of time, but we did add to our agenda an item called public input. This is for agenda, non-agenda items. We've put about 10 minutes in. We're going to try this for a little while. We are going to limit that basically to about 2 minutes each. Whether there would be any conversation between the commissioners and the person talking or not is up to the commissioners. And so I guess we're going to try it for a while, see what happens. We have a lot of public hearings, but a lot of what we do also doesn't have public hearing involved. So it would be nice if there's people that need to bring things up or there's things you want us to look into that haven't seemed to come to our radar, then let us know. So I guess I would ask if there was anybody here, and we do have to have you come forward and use the microphone because the clerk does need to record, and we'll need you to state your name for the record, please. Thank you.
Verse is a little large.
I
I apologize.
Yeah, but it's cool.
So my name is Karen Jones from Cody, and this isn't probably what you would normally discuss, but I'll just go ahead and read this and it'll be about a minute. Okay. We do not believe it is wise to have a hackable election process. The people, either individually or in various groups, have asked to reopen precinct polling places, to hand count, and to stay with paper poll books. Long lines indicate the need for more precinct polling places, and e-poll books will not alleviate the long lines. Lines are a civil rights violation. The remedy is paper elections in the precincts. It is not too late to redeem yourselves. I really feel like you guys have an option here. And it is within your purview to reverse all of those decisions and restore precinct polling places, hand counts, and paper poll books. These are timeless recommendations, and for obvious reasons, many countries have already banned voting machines and the tabulators. So I urge that paper elections in Park County could be conducted in the precincts in 2026. And that was what I really felt I needed to be said, and I thank you for it.
Okay, thank you. Here. Is there anyone else?
Commissioners, Chris Good, I think we all know who I am, I guess, and all of you, I appreciate that. I feel like I've been here, still nervous though. I don't know why. I get nervous every time I present you guys. I'm gonna, once I get done here, I'm gonna leave there. I'm gonna go over to the office. I'm gonna try to file for an amended SUP again. I'm here to ask you guys to see if we couldn't come up with an thought process or move in a direction of streamlining that amendment process. As long as, and what I'm going to ask for in this next time is not outside of the scope and detail of our operation. We have low explosive fireworks that we sell out there on a wholesale basis. We don't sell to the general public. We sell to licensed people, people that are in the business with us. I would like to be able to maybe use me as an example, if that needs to be, of a way to not have to come to you guys every time, as long as we stay within that scope and the detail of the operation and maybe move laterally, because we're increasing the growth of our operation. I'm grateful for that. As part of business. And as long as I stay within that detail, is there a reason or need to come to you guys every time? Could that be delegated to the committee, I guess? Am I thinking right? That's the first purpose.
P&Z.
People we see. What's that?
Planning and zoning.
Yeah, planning
Okay.
P&Z there. Instead of having to come clear up the chain to you guys. You guys are bogged down with plenty of other things going on. You know, if we started building space shuttle engines or something like that crazy out there, then yes, I would say that needed to be done. As long as we stay within that, in my case, low explosives, fireworks is what it is. And they're already prepackaged. We're not building those things out there. We're not doing any of that. They come in boxes. We're just transferring boxes, all we're doing, and storing it correctly. And as long as the different agencies that we're regulated by, which are handily plenty, as long as they check mark it off, then I believe the county shouldn't have an issue with that as well.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll be back to see you guys again. Get it soon.
Right now, you're still under that process, yes.
Yes, for sure.
In this DSR discussion, we can sure make a note to take a look at that.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to give any public comment this morning? Uh-oh. Oh, I didn't say that out loud, did I?
So Zach Taylor with the Powell Tribune. Just wanted to say thank you for doing this because I appreciate having the public having this opportunity. So yeah, thanks. And I hope you guys stick with it. I know the Northwest College has been doing it as long as I've been covering them. And 99% of the time, nobody talks, but they still stop the meeting at 5 p.m. every day and allow for the talk. So I hope you guys stick with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Any other public comment? Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
since we're a little bit ahead of schedule, I would like to kind of expand a little bit on Chris's request to look into every time there's change, a slightest change in an SUP, have to go through the amendment process.
Right.
Because the person is successful in needing to expand a little bit of his business seems backwards to me. So I hope we can really find some way to help streamline that for him.
I think we probably can. I guess I'm thinking about we already have the parcel designated. I mean, we know the property scope. But I think we do get a little bit bogged down into 6 containers or, the wording gets a little bit tight in there to where it cannot, move any. So yeah, we can look at some of those criteria as long as it's still on the same parcel and same use
Right.
to see if we can.
And
do
whether it's
something.
his or a different
Come
one
on up, Chris.
with it could be a bar restaurant or something,
Right.
just simply because they exceeded what their goal was. We're dragging them back through a process that's to me, I think with going into DSR 2, we've spoke how we can always when we approve it, we can go back on DSR one and make those adjustments. And I think this is a perfect example that maybe we should look deeper into streamlining that form.
To use an example already, you're in the construction business, correct? So if you decided to go laterally with what you're doing there, maybe add water trucks or scrapers or something, and
Right.
you're still within that construction business, should you have to come before just to expand laterally, really is what you're doing,
Right.
growing
Exactly.
wider, larger. Yeah. Does that make sense?
And I
That
think
makes sense.
Kim is here and listening to our discussion, so he'll take a little bit of that back too. So see what happens.
Thank
Okay.
you guys.
Thanks. Or Kim, are we expecting other people for the Horizon? Okay, we'll wait a few minutes then. Okay. 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 For Horizon?
Yes.
Okay. Erica and Kim, and if you'd like to come forward, if you're gonna want to speak on this, that'd be fine. We can do this one since it's not a public hearing. Thanks, Chris.
Changes that we were notified of late in the day yesterday.
Okay.
And I will explain.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
You don't expect anybody from EA though, correct?
No, he was not gonna be able to.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is Horizon Estates minor subdivision number 89, final plat and SIA.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The staff report packet was provided to you and the applicant in advance of this public hearing. All facts are within the packet, and I will now summarize key findings from the material. The complete packet will remain in the official file in the Planning and Zoning Department. Cohen Weisenhunt submitted a final plat application requesting approval of the final plat of the Horizon Estates, which is a 4-lot subdivision consisting of one 15-acre lot, one 15.01 acre lot, one 22.19 acre lot, and one 30.98 acre lot, each for residential and agricultural use. The applicant is also requesting approval of the subdivision improvements agreement and irrevocable letter of credit. Both were approved as to form by the county attorney. This is a new finding that we're gonna start reading just so we know which regulations are applicable.
Okay.
So the applicable regulations for this development are the Park County, Wyoming 2015 Development Standards and Regulations. This subdivision is classified as a minor subdivision. The property is in a general rural Powell zoning district. Lot sizes as proposed are consistent with that zoning district. The proposed subdivision is located approximately 9 miles west of Powell city limits at the southeast corner of the intersection of County Lane 10 and County Road 20. Neighboring land uses are agricultural and residential. SBM 233 is along the western boundary. Relevant agencies were notified and the following responses were received after the Board of County Commissioners sketch plan review. We received an email conversation between Park County Public Works and Garland Light and Power, just discussing the proposed power installation. And the county engineer sent an email confirming construction plans submitted for the subdivision improvements agreements are adequate. The Board of County Commissioners, reviewed and approved the sketch plan on May 20th. The applicant has provided sufficient easements and identified them on the final plat. The applicant has placed the appropriate notes and conditions on the final plat with regard to potential for engineered septic systems, well water quality, permitting requirements for wells with the State Engineer's Office and the Wyoming Right to Farm and Ranch Act. A completed affidavit of subdivider's compliance with Wyoming Statute 185319 as signed by the applicant will be required for recording with the final plat. The Plat Review Committee reviewed the initial submission of the final plat, and minor changes and correction were identified, and a newly revised final plat was received on October 20th, which I handed out to you The corrections are, note number 5 had the wrong, irrigation district. So it's been corrected to show Heart Mountain Irrigation District. There was a document number added to a property's owner information to the west of Lot 1. It was clarified to show the county road right of way is actually 30 feet on each side of center line, so those dimensions were just added. And then on the east side of Lot 4, they just added showing the center line of the irrigation drain and the distance to the subdivision boundary. That irrigation drain isn't quite straight with the boundary line, so it's a little bit closer to the north and then a little bit wider on the south end. The applicable final plat specifications have been met according to appendices 3, 5, and 7 of the regulations, and the applicant submitted supporting documents as specified in Appendix 4 of the county regulations. Staff recommends approval of the final plat of Horizon Estates and the subdivision improvements agreement with the irrevocable letter of credit with the following conditions that I'll read into the record. Condition number 1. Approval of this final plat shall expire after 18 months unless the final plat is signed by the chairman of the board and recorded by the clerk and recorder. Upon written request in advance of the date of expiration and for good cause shown, the board may grant one extension of time for a period not to exceed 6 months. Condition 2, the applicant shall ensure that all parties sign the irrevocable letter of credit accordingly. Condition 3, the applicants shall timely submit a Mylar copy of the final plat to the Planning and Zoning Department to be signed by the chairman of the board. Condition 4, once conditions 2 and 3 have been met, the applicant, in the presence of a member of the Planning and Zoning Department staff, shall record all required final plat submissions, including but not limited to the final plat, subdivision improvements agreement, and irrevocable letter of credit in the office of the county clerk and recorder. Condition 5, upon timely completion of required improvements according to the terms of the subdivision improvements agreement, the applicant shall 1, provide a letter from each utility provider or special district indicating the required improvements are installed in accordance with the approved plans for review and approval by the county engineer. Number 2, provide evidence of all other required improvements, including installation of a lawful perimeter fence, are complete. Part 3, provide a commitment letter from a title company stating the improvements are free of liens and encumbrances. Part 4, submit a letter to the planning and zoning director requesting complete release of the irrevocable letter of credit. And then condition number 6, the applicant shall otherwise comply with all standards in the Park County Development Regulations and the minimum subdivision requirements as set forth in Wyoming Statute 18-5-306. We stand by for questions.
I do have one thought, I guess, with the discussion that we just had about this being under the 2025 or 2015.
Yes.
I wonder if in condition number 6, that would be a good place to state that this is under those, so that if we have to go back into the record for some reason, it's on the document.
Okay,
that-
I will amend condition number 6. I will insert 2015 in front of the
Okay.
Park County Development Regulations.
Okay, that might just help us track in the future. And if the commissioners remember correctly, we're requested to do 2 separate motions, one for the SIA and one for the. Are there any other questions for staff?
One, the little purple section next to it, SBM SS 233M-83. Just a residential home right next to it.
Oh, to the west. Mhm.
Why is it in purple?
Can I come up
Um,
and take a look at what you're?
Yeah, go ahead. Our screen.
Oh, that's just it. There's a subdivision next door to.
A
this, and
symbol.
that just,
Oh.
yes, and that's just the outline of the actual subdivision boundary.
Okay.
Because it's a subdivision, not just a residential
paper.
ownership. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions for staff? We don't usually do public input since this isn't a public hearing. Is there any reason or anything that you've heard you need to change or that all sound good?
No, Chairman.
Okay, pleasure of the board.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the subdivision improvement agreement for Horizon Estates minor subdivision.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the subdivision improvements agreement for Horizon Estates minor sub 89. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Madam Chair, move to approve the Horizon Estates final plat with conditions.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the final plat of Horizon Estates minor subdivision 89 with conditions. Any further discussion on that motion?
Madam Chair, that will include the change for the 2015, referencing the amended for number 6, 2015 regulations.
Yes, correct on your motion.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam, Chair, Resolution 2025-75.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
And you'll correct that before I sign it. You'll-
Yeah.
Thank you. We got a while. Yeah. So at 10:20, we will do the Amsterdam simple sub. Thank you. Are you expecting an owner or anything? No? Okay.
He's doing beats.
Tough time of year.
Oh, beats.
This one I haven't seen. them. Even one letter for that.
No, that's what it was.
I might, for more detail.
We all ready? Okay. That the next thing on our agenda? Decker and him from the Park County Planning and Zoning Office. Review the Amsterdam Simple Subdivision 330 Final Plat Review.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The staff report packet was provided to you and the applicant in advance of this public meeting. All facts are within the packet, and I will now summarize key findings from the material. The complete packet will remain in the official file in the Planning and Zoning Department. Lyle Evelo submitted a final plat application requesting approval of the final plat to create one 6.57 acre lot for residential use from an existing 182.89 acre parcel. The applicable regulations are Park County, Wyoming, 2015 Development Standards and Regulations. The proposed subdivision is classified as a simple subdivision. Ownership has been affirmed. The parcel is approximately 3,500 feet northwest of the town site of Ralston and approximately 4.8 miles southwest of Powell. Neighboring land uses are agricultural, residential, and exempt federal Bureau of Recreation lands and residential vacant land. The Rodriguez Simple Subdivision 64 is adjacent to the north boundary of the proposed lot. Proposed Lot 1 is bounded by a Shoshone Irrigation District lateral to the west and south. Alkali Creek Ditch lies just to the north. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service National Wetlands Inventory has identified wetlands on the property. The proposed subdivision is in a general rural Powell zoning district. The lot size as proposed is consistent with that zoning district. Relevant agencies were notified and responded as follows. Keel Sanitation can provide garbage pickup service as long as there's access. Park County Fire District Number 1 can provide fire suppression as long as there's access. Bureau of Reclamation provided an application form to the applicant for access and utilities across their land to the proposed lot, and they would seek concurrence with Shoshone Irrigation District since the Shoshone Irrigation District shop is in close proximity to the proposed access. Black Hills Energy currently has capacity to serve the proposed subdivision. Powell-Clarks Fork Conservation District identified 3 soil types on the properties. The soil types are rated very limited and not limited regarding dwellings with or without basements and small commercial buildings. Limitations are due to flooding and depth to saturated zone. Farmland classification of the primary soil type is not prime farmland. The secondary soil types are considered farmland with statewide importance if irrigated. The primary soil type is considered very limited regarding septic tank absorption fields due to flooding depth to saturated zone and seepage. TCT stated they have terrestrial wildlife service available. Garland Light and Power has capacity to serve the proposed subdivision. Park County School District Number 1 can provide bus service. Park County Weed and Pest inspected the property and found noxious weeds, therefore a long-term noxious weed management plan is required. Heart Mountain Irrigation District confirmed no water rights are tied to the proposed lots and therefore a water distribution plan is not required. The irrigation lateral to the west and south line of the lot is under Shoshone Irrigation District jurisdiction. Wyoming Game and Fish stated Ralston Reservoir serves as a critical stopover and staging area for a variety of migratory bird species and made the following recommendations. Establish a minimum buffer zone of at least 300 meters between the proposed development and the high water mark of Ralston Reservoir and associated wetlands. Incorporate conservation easements or open space zoning in the site plan to preserve critical habitat and movement corridors for wildlife. Implement regulations to manage domestic pets and lighting that may impact migrating birds. Park County Public Works reported the following. A right-of-way across BOR property has been proposed, and a copy of that right-of-way is requested, and that has actually been received by the Planning and Zoning Department. No new roads are proposed. Addresses will be issued by Public Works at the time of development, and no immediate concerns with drainage and erosion control at this time. Shoshone Irrigation District stated the applicant has done everything needed for permitting from SID, and they have approved it on their end. No public comments have been received. At their regular meeting on March 19th, 2025, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the subdivision with conditions. The applicants have provided sufficient easements and identified them on the final plat. The applicant has placed the appropriate notes and conditions on the final plat with regard to the potential for engineered septic systems, well water quality, the permitting of water wells, the Wyoming Right to Farm and Ranch Act of 1991, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and their regulatory authority over wetlands, riparian rights, and the potential for flooding during high precipitation events. The applicant has provided a map showing the location of the percolation tests and excavation cut, pictures of the excavation cut, and approved right-of-way from the BOR, and approval from the Shoshone Irrigation District for access and utilities along the existing lateral ditch easement, and an approved long-term noxious weed management plan, an approved letter of map amendment, and a completed affidavit of subdividers compliance signed by the applicant have all been provided to the Planning and Zoning Department. Plat Review Committee reviewed the final plat, and a corrected plat was submitted. Applicable final plat specifications have been met according to appendices 3, 5, and 7 of the regulations. The applicant submitted supporting documents as specified in appendix 4 of the regulations, and a subdivision improvements agreement is not required since no applicable improvements are proposed or incomplete. The following conditions are recommended by staff if the board chooses to approve the final plat. Condition number 1, the approval of this final plat shall expire after 18 months unless the final plat is signed by the chairman of the board and recorded by the clerk and recorder. Upon written request in advance of the date of expiration and for good cause shown, the board may grant one extension of time for a period not to exceed 6 months. Condition 2, the applicant, in the presence of the member of the Planning and Zoning Department staff, shall record the final plat and all required final plat submissions in the office of the county clerk and recorder. And condition 3, the applicant shall otherwise comply with the standards in Park County development regulations and the minimum subdivision requirements as set forth in Wyoming statute 18-5-306. We stand by for questions.
Okay, I would ask you about condition 3 again, if this is the Park County Development Regulations from 2015, if we could add that on condition 3.
Yes, I'll add that. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Fencing is not on a single lot. I did see it.
They have provided us with the affidavit and
Okay,
I believe is the fence.
Fence installed.
Is installed.
Okay. Okay. I didn't see it in the listing, so I probably missed it. Okay. Okay, pleasure of the commission.
Madam Chair, move to approve the Amsterdam simple subdivision 330 final plat review with conditions noted.
Been moved and seconded to approve the final plat for Amsterdam simple subdivision 330 final plat with conditions. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Madam Chair, Resolution 2025-76.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, I think our next two gentlemen are here, so they can go ahead and come up from the sheriff's office.
Madam Chair.
This is getting to be a regular.
We're here to request that we be able to replace a dispatcher that resigned approximately 2 weeks ago. And with that, we'd also like to make mention that half of those wages of that dispatcher are actually compensated by the city of Cody as well. So
Okay, now our agenda has 2 vacant dispatch positions. Are we only talking about one?
yes, we are. Since that request was made, the one dispatcher has requested
Withdraw it?
rescind his resignation. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we talked a little bit about this. Can you tell us about your need for coverage?
Yes, with the dispatchers, we run 24/7 coverage, and oftentimes during the night, we'll only have one dispatcher on. We've been running somewhere between 150 to 225 calls for service per 24 hours. So with that comes a lot of telephone calls, dispatching and such. So it is nice during the day, or during the busy times, to have actually 2 on duty. One covers the city, one covers the county traffic.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners?
Madam Chair, when you last advertised for dispatchers, you still have some of those applications still with you, that maybe you passed over or still could be used again?
Yes, we do. Talking to Communications Supervisor McLean, he has a couple on his desk. I do not have them with me currently, but we do have some applicants still available, I believe.
So do you hit those up first before you advertise?
That I would have to discuss with him. I mean, normally it would be best if we advertise first,
Okay.
so we can get some new ones. I think it's been almost a year since those previous applications
Oh,
were
okay.
received. So I would have to talk about that with Communications Supervisor McLean. But
Do you get any information out of Douglas as far as the training facility, that you got some new ones coming out?
we normally do with detention and patrol deputies. Those will go in and do the pre-service, and so we have applicants ready to go from there oftentimes. Dispatch normally, in my experience, have been sent when they're hired. So there's really not a pre-service list that I'm aware of coming from Douglas on that.
Do they, after you hire a dispatcher, do you then send them off to Douglas then?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We do.
How long does that training usually?
I believe it's 5 to 6 weeks. Maybe I'm incorrect.
They've just reformatted the training. Actually, that's where our supervisor's at right now, is they have a academy going on for communications academy. It's 2 weeks. They've refined it in different ways. So we have our FTO training process that we do here, which is anywhere from 10 to 12 weeks. But the actual academy one that they certify through the state is 2 weeks.
So you can get them back pretty quick.
Yes, and they give different allowances. They just, depending on the groups, they'll run either 1 or 2 trainings a year for that communications basic.
Do you run your training first to see how they fit in, or do you just send them
We
down
do.
there? Okay.
Immediately after they, as Commissioner Stewart said, that it does take time to get people through the background process,
Okay,
all the testing, and get them approved just to start on day 1.
okay,
But once they start on day 1, that's when the field training officer program commences, and they start doing everything from how to take calls,
Okay.
going through the whole task list.
and they do that here before they go to?
Correct.
Okay.
They have a full training program here. It always depends on the timing when the academy, like when they're hired and when the academy happens. We try to get them front loaded with as much training as possible. And that way they can start to experience things. And if they decide, hey, this is maybe not for me, or the job expectations are a little different, or shift work, they can kind of get that feel and then hopefully be more prepared before they go down to academy and we finish training.
What is a normal shift?
A normal shift for them right
Yeah.
now, I believe, is 10 hours.
10 hours?
Yeah, or 10.
Okay, 4 10s?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if we do get shorthanded, we have run a series of 12s and 8s to cover all the shifts.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Mhm.
And you mentioned that the city the half the wages are compensated by the city. You
Yes.
don't anticipate any hiccups from the city as far as refilling this position?
No, that budget's already been set. The city's already been taken
That's what I
care of
thought.
that, or has been taking care of the issue.
Any other questions, thoughts? If not, what's the?
I have thought though. No, I'm gonna have to support emergency services if Daryl says he knew it, but I'm gonna reiterate the fact that this is a total waste of their time. come in here and request something that we know is within their budget and know that they're gonna have to do. So I just gonna say that.
Well, Madam Chair, I think Lloyd and Mr. Teal and I had that conversation, like what we all kind of did, maybe. Whether we continue this where they come in if we. If it's within their budget. So I think that's a discussion we need to have.
Madam Chair, I would, and I think we did have this discussion last time. And I think there was a discussion about a hiring freeze, a mention of it, but there was never a formal board vote on that concept. And I lean towards if they've budgeted, if it's in their budget for this year, we don't have an official hiring freeze.
Right.
In my mind. And so I kind of agree that it's we're making a formality for something. I think if it goes outside of the budget, that's a different story, but this is it within the budget.
And Madam Chair, just to reiterate on that, I think as long as the departments know that there's a possibility they're gonna have let somebody go, or depending on what the next budget is.
Well, I think that was kind of some of the discussion thoughts when we did this. I'm not so much on it at this time of year, but looking at it in February, March, or April, after we know what comes through the legislature, they may still have it in their budget, but it might not be in their best interest to hire someone at that point. And I think we might need to have those discussions later in the spring as we get closer to budget, because I'd hate to have them hire somebody and then 4 weeks later we say, no, you're done. So I don't know, it might be timing. We might put it on hold as long as it's in the budget until after the first of the year or after the legislative session. But I think then we're gonna maybe have to take a harder look at what transpires as far as employees, because that's about the only other place we have to go on the budget, as things start to change. I don't know, just thoughts. Okay, so what's the pleasure of the board today? I guess just.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the filling of the one vacant dispatcher position for the Sheriff's Department.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to fill the one vacant dispatch position as suggested. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay. All right, we'll talk about it a little bit more too as to the next few months. See what happens.
Fully understand, and
All right.
I never mind coming to speak on it.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you.
we like to see you once in a while.
Yeah.
You get a sponsor for you in one long. You buy Wendy's or something. What is your emergency brought to you by Wendy's?
Oh, we don't have another till 10:50.
Right, we've got a few minutes.
So would we need, since we didn't take formal action to put a freeze in place, do we need to take action?
We can say we're not gonna make them come in for the next few months, but I don't want to do that through June. I mean, that's just me.
So the budget session, I'll look up when the session starts.
And those will light up on a major accident. You'll have 4 911 calls going, but as far as dogs and cats, I mean. You have that occasional one, but it's not a big issue, but I can tell you. At the staffing level they're at, it's almost impossible to go below that, not without paying a whole bunch of overtime. And getting back to the city of Cody, it's always been if we decided to add more staff, we do it, and then they just have to budget for it. They don't have a choice for our agreement.
Okay,
We've usually went to them and been pretty open with them, but, it's, that's one of the most stressful jobs in that entire department. And I've sat in every single seat in there, so I know, but, it's because you get officers go to the scene And they've got each other and, you know, afterwards they can go in and talk and so with the dispatch, they're tied to a chair. And then when everything's, the baby's not breathing, the call is done. I used to make our officers go in there and check on the dispatch because you're tied to that. You get that one person calling and screaming and yelling, you know, and it's a stressful job. And that's why I think the turnover, if you look at per employee, per department, the turnover in there is a little higher than any, you know, for the amount of officers higher because of that stress. And so I don't know how you would go less in dispatch, really.
Do they usually have overtime just about every pay period?
Pretty much. Well, I shouldn't say that.
It's better than normal.
The 10 hours and 4 10s is better. We had 8-hour shifts is pretty high. But you know, on a, you take in the summer on busy days, they'll have 3 dispatchers in there. They have 3 different consoles. So yes, and you gotta understand too, they're taking calls for the city of Cody, they're taking calls for, you know, all the officers in the building, and they developed a system before I left where rather than us take the call, our dispatcher take the call for the city officer and then write it on a stick, you're sending a message, they transfer it right to their own voicemail now. So they'd be, oh, you want to talk to officer so-and-so, boom. But yeah, I'd encourage you, if you've ever sat in there, sit on there on a Friday, Saturday night, or even in the day shift. Sometimes the day shifts are busier because of all the calls coming in.
Well, and you've also had fire dispatch too. How do they deal with Powell?
Well, so now that they transferred Powell Fire back to Powell Fire, that's one less agency they have to dispatch for.
So if a 911 comes in from Powell, they'll first identify and then push a button or something that'll send.
Well, see, that's always been a problem, is because if it comes into Powell, these things can bounce. I mean, you get coding 911 calls off of Bighorns.
Yeah.
And so the signals a lot of times bounce. So it was even a problem there with Powell PD got a 911 call for a fire over Powell. They'd have to transfer to Cody. And then Cody would dispatch Powell Fire. So that I believe is alleviating a little bit of that, because there are times when they transfer calls, they get dumped. But same with the transfer highway patrol. All of a sudden, the person calls back, will say, I got dumped. You know, we never got there. So that's always going to be an issue. But I think it was in the best benefit of the public and everybody to give Powell Fire back to Powell. It makes more sense.
Yeah.
And it alleviates a lot of part of the burden on Cody. I mean, let's face it, the biggest time for Powell Fire is, you know, burning field time.
Yeah.
You know, but it really, I think, has to be some of the burden. It's still a very, very busy center, you know.
Yeah, I thought that the fire chief over there and he said that it's working really good.
Yeah, well, it was a turf war to begin with when they transferred.
Yeah.
That's the problem, you know, we always have with nothing against highway patrol at all, but a lot of times you transfer calls to highway patrol, they don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
You know, somebody saying I'm on Chief Joe, or I'm on some pull out on Beartooth, they don't always know how they, you know, dispatch it.
Does a cell phone just, it'll, like if I'm at the Bighorns and I'm dialing 911, it'll ping to Bighorns now, you know?
Sometimes,
You will know you
sometimes
want.
they'll go to Cody's side. Occasionally cell towers, ping someone else. And especially what happens is on a 911 call. A lot of people don't know this, but if you got Verizon and you hit a 911 and the closest tower is AT&T, it'll grab it. And so, or, you know, yeah, 911 will grab any tower available.
Right.
And I found that's the benefit, because of years ago when I was on the big ones, or on the sunlight, if I needed to talk to dispatch or want to get my text message, I'd call dispatch on 911. I never all my texts. No. But they will, you know.
Did you see Healing's the artificial AI when somebody would, what is a non-emergency number for dispatch? And they would ask it anyway, it was on the Bill's News. Well, AI was giving them bogus numbers. They were getting pizza places and motels, and
Oh, jeez.
that was something. They should do.
We had a problem there for a long time, where people were calling in that they were commercial airlines. And they had like a fire or a search and rescue call up in the mountains. You know, and we would dispatch people 2 a.m. It's just these spoofing calls, you know, reporting bogus 911 calls.
Well,
Well, an iPhone has their crash detection.
And I've noticed, because I still get the ambulance and fire pages, search rescue, I've noticed a lot of increase in those.
Yeah,
In the page now. That it's
I'm always
it's an
worried
iPhone
about
crash
dropping my
crash
iPhone
detection.
on the floor and I'll get a crash detection or something.
Well, they will. If you drop it hard enough, they're getting calls like that now for iPhone crash detection.
So the session lasts till February, is it a leap year? So the legislative session will be over
It's four,
like
four
March
weeks.
1st, it's only 20 days this time.
Yeah, 4 weeks on a budget session.
So it will be over like
If-
March 2nd.
Well, there's people
Unless they-
saying they'll have to reconvene, but I don't know that. But I'm saying like, hold on.
Yeah.
On that irrevocable letter, Justin. Can do it all. If you have. And that's what it was for. Yeah.
So that's for like bringing in,
For building these utilities and road or.
and then they have it, and then once he sells the ones, he pays that back.
You expecting anybody else? Hi. Y'all want to move forward? Okay. Okay, I think we're a little bit ahead of schedule, about 5 minutes, but we're gonna go ahead and move forward. Next thing on our agenda has to do with Northwest Healthcare lease. Under normal circumstances, we do just renew leases, if everybody agrees on an annual basis. In this particular case, there were some questions that came up on the lease. So we have been reviewing it and I guess trying to make a decision on this lease. So I'm going to read a statement out of statutes. And it says, except as provided in subsection B of this section, the government entity is liable for damages resulting from bodily injury, wrongful death, or property damage caused by the negligence of public employees while acting within the scope of their duties in the operation of any public hospital or in providing public outpatient health care. That was provided and in an answer to one of our questions about any liability that we have. I believe, at least my understanding on the initial operations with the lease was basically counseling and consultation, not provider type of medical care. And that kind of brought up some more questions as to the county position and how that may or may not cause any liability because of where it is being housed in the annex and can be. It's on a very, very part-time basis. Certainly not questioning the need for the services, but just looking at the county responsibility or liability for where it's located and the fact that there are other county employees and uses in that same room other parts of the week. So that's part of what came up on questions. So I guess I'd ask the commissioners where they're at on looking at renewing this lease.
Madam Chair, I would agree that there's a need for this. I am a little nervous about, not only having it when we did, but wanting to extend it even longer or more hours of operation. I guess I personally am not comfortable with signing lease. I think maybe there's other places outside of our county building that this can be operated. I don't know that. I would hope there would be. I just am not, with the consultation with our attorney, not comfortable signing.
Anyone else? Wait.
Just a question, is Northwest Healthcare providing public outpatient healthcare? They are.
Madam Chair, I'd just say, since I'm the one that actually pulled it from the consent agenda, I think what initially brought my attention to it was just the difference in the structure of how the lease payment was compared to our other renters. But then as I started kind of looking at it more, what service we're doing, and being the fact that there's a provider there that is diagnosing, treating, ordering tests, I do think that there's a lot of, there's a lot of nuances with HIPAA, with other employees accessing the same, county employees accessing or using the same office space that open the county to liability. And I agree. I don't think that I think services are needed, and I'm with Commissioner Stewart. I hope that they're able to find another facility, another location, the same kind of setup that is in Cody. But I don't think a county office building is the appropriate place for it. And so I'm leaning towards also not renewing this lease for that reason.
I guess I'd ask, do you have any? Somebody, I guess, can answer whoever chooses to. Do you have any thoughts about what else might be available in the Powell area to, and if you'd state your name for the record, please, for her.
Sure. I'm Michelle Gutierrez, the executive director for Northwest Healthcare. Unfortunately, I don't believe there is another space. I mean, maybe in time we can find another setup such as this. That's the question. How was that office chosen? I know you did a search process. We did. So at the time, Bill Crampton, when we had to close our facilities over in Powell due to funding, we had students and funding cut. And so we were not in the Powell community for a couple of years. And Bill Crampton and myself thought that there was still a need for our services. And he said, why can't we help you out? And so during that process, that's how we came to be in the building, was through Bill Crampton, saying, we have this office and why don't we share? In regards to about all of our stuff is electronic, so there's nothing like left lying around or anything in regards to that. So
Right.
I just want to state for the record too that we're very HIPAA compliant, yeah.
No, I appreciate you answering the questions that you did that came out of the last meeting, and getting that information does help.
A question, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, there is a need that needs to be filled over there, and finding a new spot may be difficult, but you have to understand our protection for liability of the full county. So I guess my question is more to the commissioners and BOCC, no action is not renewing of the lease, or can we say give them till the end of the year?
We've had that discussion a little bit, and I had that discussion with the county attorney too. Right now, they're on a month to month. Their lease actually ended a month and a half ago. And so we've said until we had this discussion, and I kind of had a conversation with Michelle that if we decided to not be able to do it due to the recommendations or whatever, that I was hoping that we would be able to do a motion to extend their lease at least until through December or through January or whatever we think it's going to take them to be able to find another location. Not to say you have, tomorrow. I mean, I certainly don't want to go there, but
Madam Chair, but that would need an action.
yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a stab at this, if that's all right. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to deny the renewal of the lease agreement, but provide an extension under their current till the end of 2025.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to non-renew the existing lease, but provide an extension through December of 2025. Is that correct? Second.
So, Madam Chair.
Yes.
May I speak? A Google or really? Just a couple of questions. What, can you give an example of what the liability concerns are? And also,
I guess I might ask a question, or maybe you could ask it for me, Michelle. If the medical person, does that person, is he in the office when they're there just one day a week for 4 hours? Or are medical procedures done in I'm not sure. And so those are two questions, you know.
Okay, sure. I'd ask Michelle the first one. Procedures are done by the provider. As far as testing procedures and those kinds of things are done in the Powell office as it's leased right now, correct?
I would question what you would mean by procedures, so.
Are they
what-
drawing fluid? Are they
so
doing?
You're doing, pap smears.
Okay.
Pelvic exam. And then we also do STI, STD screening. And we're under the same guidelines as public health for those screenings, so, we both do those, we kind of. The days we're not there, public health does the days we're there, we do them. So in regards to that, that is what we're doing. If the council is uncomfortable with us doing pap smears, I would maybe ask, and I don't know if this is appropriate, we just wouldn't do those over there, and we would just have everyone over to Cody and still continue to do birth control injections there, if that would be okay.
Yes, I'm still looking back at the statute and it says in providing public outpatient health care. I'm not an attorney. That kind of sounds like almost anything, whether it's, I don't know if you consider counseling healthcare, but sure.
Regarding the question of liability,
Mhm.
am I correct in stating that public health nursing services are in public buildings, you're liable for their actions?
Not with our agreement with the state of Wyoming, because public health is funded by and controlled by the state of Wyoming. We just have to give them a location. So they have a totally different contract and agreement, and they take all liability and responsibility for what they have. It is a little different. I understand what you're saying, but it is through the state and we are required to provide that location.
So yes, that comes back to your.
Mhm.
The differences between public health and. Also,
Right.
and also, Commissioner Small,
I think they should come to the microphone.
Yeah, I don't know that Colleen can hear you well enough. Can you just come forward, Peggy? Just come on up here.
She's hard for me to hear.
raise your voice.
I know she can raise her voice. I've heard it before. No, there's a-
If you could use that.
Well,
Or you-
we're supposed to use these.
I
but,
have
you
the
know.
troubles with not speaking into the mic myself. I
Okay.
apologize.
All right, well, now I forgot what I was gonna say. No, Commissioner Simone, so your, if I'm understanding right, your concerns with HIPAA would be what?
Madam Chair.
Mhm.
So having served on a hospital board before, even in the most secure settings of electronic medical records, HIPAA violations still occur. There's still times where people can leave PHI out, protected health information, not purposefully, but it still can happen. I've seen it happen. And so I do know that there is that liability risk. And I did ask to see the MOU with public health, and the MOU that we have with public health has a lot of language about HIPAA in it, a lot.
Yeah.
And also I think there's the difference for me with public health versus Northwest Healthcare is public health is a nurse. It doesn't have a provider. And so Northwest Healthcare has a provider who is examining patients, ordering tests, prescribing treatment. And that by definition is an outpatient healthcare setting. Healthcare clinic, sorry. And I don't think a county building, a county office building is the right place for a medical facility.
Okay,
And that the liability is that. The liability is you're collecting bodily fluids, you're collecting specimens. And I know public health is doing it sounds like, I don't know exactly what they're doing, but I think they're doing just more injections and that kind of thing. Shots,
Vaccination.
but doing STI testing is collecting bodily fluids. Even using EMR is not bulletproof for HIPAA. And so to me, those are liabilities for the county. If
What-
that answers your question.
What's EMR?
Electronic medical record.
Oh,
She
okay.
said they use an electronic medical record, but even with that in place, there is still the potential for a HIPAA violation to happen
Okay.
that we can't safeguard from.
Let's see. Well, I think you've answered the questions that I have. I'm mostly here today to speak in favor and support of Northwest Healthcare, where we've been long-time supporters of their services, a very much needed community service. And just full disclosure, I have a daughter and daughter-in-law on the board. So just so you know that, but that's not the reason I'm here. It's just to support the organization. And I understand your concerns and thank you for expressing those, and that's what you do in your job. I do support what Chairman Overfield said as far as I would hope that you would, if you are going to deny this, which it sounds like you are, that you would give them some time to stay there until they can find somewhere else. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just a point of, we're in a litigious society, and we have, in the old days, it used to be, okay, that's fine. But with the limited lawyers that we have available here in the county, this would be a county problem. And we would have to, if anybody would bring up any kind of lawsuit, as far as the county is concerned, we can't afford to take that risk. So.
Stick it in there.
Thank you. I guess that was another clarification I forgot to ask you for. How long have they had the lease? How long have they been in the PAL Annex? Does anyone know?
They've been there a long time.
2017.
2017 was the lease agreement.
And it just never came up before. And how did it come up now?
Well, I think it came up, of course, with Commissioner Simone's history and medical background. And it came up because of the request for moving from 4 hours to 8 hours a week, I guess. It would have
Oh.
changed the lease,
Mhm.
but we were renewing the lease and we read those as we renew them. And so the question came up about, wait a minute, should we really be doing this in a public building with a provider care, not just meeting room, type of thing. So that's where it started, the discussion started. And that's why I'd asked Michelle for more information on exactly what they do there so that we had a clear picture
Yeah.
of what we were dealing with.
Okay, I was just curious. I didn't know what
Yeah.
the history was on it. Thank you.
Yep.
Madam Chair, if I can. Ms. Rubel, to add to that answer, at the beginning of I think it was the beginning of my term, the commissioners were working on increasing or setting a fair kind of rental rate. Because as a public entity, we don't want to compete with the private sector as far as rental space. And so they had changed the structure to renting it based by square foot. And this lease was just a lump sum. It was like a $500 a year lump sum payment, which is not how the other leases were structured. The other leases were structured per square foot. And so that is what first drew my attention when I was reading the lease, and the lease renewal was just the cost, because it was a discrepancy between what we're doing with other renters. And then I started saying, oh, it's actually this is actually a clinic, like a provider clinic. When I asked, is this just an office space or is this a full-blown healthcare clinic? And then that's kind of how it segued into.
Well, I guess I was kind of
So
curious.
Mike, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yes, it's on. Thank you. I guess I was kind of curious because in the paper, it had said, I think it was the Powell Tribune, that constituents had brought this to your attention. And
No.
so I was
Well,
just,
Madam Chair, I said that in the thing, and I said on the campaign trail, I heard about it. And then when you're looking through, like, the commissioners are tasked with, we have to find the highest and best use of that rental space. So if we're only renting it for, a small amount of money, where we could rent it for higher amount, per square foot, potentially, if we had more days, that's kind of the oversight we're charged with, the highest and best use of the space too.
and that was what the constituents were worried about mainly.
I can't speak to exactly what they were worried about. They asked about there being this facility in a county office space.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
If I
sir.
may, going back to the first discussion, when it started was on the amount of hours and the space.
Right.
And we just come off a big meeting with a lot of the public realtor investors that were complaining about our rates. We did a big study on our rates to see how we were in comparison. We adjusted our rates to compare with the private sector, so we didn't step on their toes. And I think it was at that point we made, I think the communication and the discussion is that we wanted to be consistent. And that's where we started reviewing all these things. And I think the discussion was, in this particular case, was where do we rent a space for a few hours a day and tie up one room? And I think that's where there's a two-pronged discussion here. One, being consistent with what we agreed to do with the public on rentals. And then two, what we're dealing with now with the outpatient healthcare.
True.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? We do have a motion. That motion was to deny the renewal, but provide an extension through December of 25 to give them the opportunity to find it. I guess I'll ask this question of the commissioners before we vote on it. If by chance they can't find anything in Powell that is willing to do this in that amount of time, not to encourage them not to look, hopefully, but just saying that if something is going to be available in March, or they find out something, is usable at that time, are the commissioners willing to take a look at this in December if we need to, if there's any change in what they're able to do?
I'm sure.
Mhm.
I'm willing to do that to some extent, but I guess one of my problems is if we're saying this is a liability.
Right, I get
And then
it.
we send it
Yeah.
out and extend it out,
Right.
if something happens. I'm not saying there's something would happen, but if we're saying it's a liability, how
Okay.
far do we want to take that liability? That's my only offer.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair, just a quick thank you to Northwest Healthcare for providing all the answers. I know we submitted a lot of questions and spent some time on the phone, and I appreciate the time that you took to answer the questions.
Question I should have raised earlier. When Northwest,
Loudly, please.
when Northwest Healthcare is no longer in Powell, what are citizen services available? What is available to a 15-year-old who needs STD testing, has no money? Where can she go in Powell?
I'm not sure how public health handles that. I know they can test. I don't know that, I think I had a conversation with Bill Crampton at some point that they were not testing for those for quite a while, and the state wasn't doing much of that. So it was being handled through Northwest. So I don't really have that answer. I don't know about medical providers in Powell, whether they have the ability to do that. And obviously there would be more cost than there is through either public health or Northwest when they can do it on a sliding scale. But no, I agree. It could be an issue.
So there is no other service for people who can't drive over to Cody.
Well, we're not wanting to stop the service. We're just wanting them to move it to a different location. I know.
Whether that community is being eliminated by this decision.
I'm not sure how the community would feel about spending thousands and thousands of dollars on a lawsuit if we ended up in a lawsuit with taxpayer dollars. We have to, those are the decisions we have to weigh. So it can be hard. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. So we will do a temporary lease agreement, but just kind of probably a signature on the bottom of the existing one that we're extending it till December 31st. And if you'd let us know if you find something sooner than that, then we can adjust the rent accordingly, but okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
It's, you know.
Hey. Yep. Okay, 11:05, we were doing liaison reports before Brian gets here. We haven't done them in a while, don't need a lot. I guess I'll work down through the list really quick. I'll let Scott Mangold do Fair Board because I wasn't at the last meeting. Library Board, just chugging forward, spending a lot of discussion time on the new library and how things will be set up there. They've been doing an awful lot of outreach programs and they've done a great job. And they have an outreach van that they're taking to different locations and functions in the county that's really getting the library out there. Museum Board, chugging along. I've asked Mr. Skorick a question that one of the Museum Board members came up with, and that is they don't have a lot every month. So they were wondering if they could go to an every other month or quarterly meetings. And I don't know whether that's feasible or not with the taxpayer dollar budget, but he's checking on that to see if there's any pros and cons. So you might hear a little bit more about that in the future. Travel Council didn't make the meeting this last week, but just rolling along. They've done most of their grant stuff except for small local grants. Nice board to work with. They've been really good. Forward Cody doing their thing. Same health and wellness has been going along. Medical insurance stuff looks like it's hanging in there about the same as what we expect. PEP, as you know, they're looking for a new director. Rebecca Burns has moved. She's still acting as director on a long distance basis right now. But the board is focusing, trying to figure out how they want to focus and setting up a new strategic planning meeting. Urban Systems has not met. Lately, their last meeting, we set up to look at East Sheridan Avenue out there where it meets Beacon Hill. And WCCA board, I think a lot of you've been on the calls with WCCA. We're just monitoring possible litigation at this, or legislation at this point to see where that's coming from. Nothing with Yellowstone. I mentioned this morning, trying to get in touch with Cam as soon as they're all back to work as far as the 911 stuff goes. And the BLM's pretty quiet, other than the shooting range thing. There hasn't been too much there. So, Scott, you're next on top of the list.
Okay, so Yellowstone Regional, I made a Zoom meeting. That's the last one. They're just obviously funding, looking at stuff that way and operations. Our county preservation committee, we haven't met. That's one where they usually let me know when they meet. Public health officer, I spoke with Dr. Villan here a while back, and then we had him, discussion on some of the public health stuff. Then we had him in here for some of that. Basin Authority Joint Powers Board, we meet tomorrow in base. They changed the basin at 10. Shooting complex I haven't made. A couple of times, nothing recently. I need to get on that for us. Something I need to get on.
Thursday morning.
This Thursday morning. Oh,
Airport. They meet at the airport boardroom.
What did I miss? So on the. Shooting.
Oh, you're talking that shooting
Yeah.
complex. I was talking the other. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The TC bidder at the center, nothing. And then nothing on park service.
Lloyd?
Looking at my list here, the first one is Park County Weed and Pest. And that one, they actually have quite a bit of issues on that. They took pretty good hit on their mill levy where their board put together a 30% overall cut in services. Part of that will affect the county as far as services that they used to do for us for free. But it was the actual cost to them. So spraying, and Brian's here, like our road and bridge shop areas, they've done in the past, they're no longer going to be able to do that at free cost. And some of the other services. So that is coming up, as well as the one person they do have that does a lot of weed release, not releases, but reviews on our subdivisions and SUPs. Is planning to retire in about a year, and they do not plan to replace that person. They hope to be able to keep up with staff in-house moving forward on it. The other big issue they have is the classification of cheatgrass as a invasive species, and the effects that could have on Park County would be huge. From weed releases to certified seeds that's grown. A lot of people don't understand how much certified seed that is grown in Park County. And the fact that we have a lot of cheatgrass in our area, it would really affect that. So they have a lot of stuff. They're a really good, efficient board. They go to great details. They have a lot of programs that match or discounted herbicides for landowners as well as seeds. They're going to discontinue some of those, or at least, instead of saying you get it for 50% off, you can maybe get it only 10% off or something, So they're looking at ways to pinch their budget. And of course, everybody's waiting to see what the next legislation does for the property tax. So moving on to Predator Board. We really don't have a whole lot of influence on that as far as Park County. In years ago, the county helped fund that a little bit, but it is pretty much solely funded through brand inspections and state ADMB board. So we don't, we're just kind of a liaison if they need anything. And so far, other than support, if it ever comes up with the Department of Agriculture. So next on my list is Urban Systems of Powell. They're still trying to save, as everybody knows. They have their next project in the Powell area would be Fair Street. That's that if you're coming from Cody into Powell, it's the first light. That intersection is very narrow and it's difficult for trucks to make that corner. They want to widen that out. They're trying to save up for matching grant money from YDOT. But every time they get, a couple $100,000 saved per year, well, the price has went up 400,000. So it just seems like we're getting farther behind on that. But we are working directly with the irrigation, the Shoshone Irrigation District over there to work in conjunction with them to move that drop that will help save on the cost. And the railroad is planning to rework their crossing, which was originally part of our task, but that will now be taken on by Burlington Norman Santa Fe. So it is moving, but it's still a couple of years out, or minimum, maybe even more if the cost of everything keeps going further. Forest Service, Kelly and I both, we still we need to get together. I think we're planning a meeting. Dossie can probably elaborate on that.
To be on today's agenda, but with them not working, he's
Yeah,
canceled.
with the government shutdown, we're kind of in limbo, but we're hoping to have a meeting direct with them.
Yep.
And then BLM, as Dossie mentioned, same thing with the shutdown. We don't have we always have open communication, but right now there's not much happening. That's my report.
Okay, so Buffalo Bill Dam Visitor Center, I haven't had any notice of a meeting there. CY I'll just kind of go over their notes from our last meeting I attended through Zoom. They did a business travel survey that was in progress. They're trying to kind of just see how many people are utilizing it for business. And then there was some discussion about using flights, sorry. And then they were going to do another one for leisure use. They're working on a Chicago MRG offer for Saturday only flights. They're looking at donor fundraising strategies and trying to kind of organize how their fundraising strategy for that. And then went over the September airport performance. The passenger count was down 4% from the previous September. Talked a little bit about federal funding uncertainty, and then they had the Run the Runway event that happened on Saturday, the 18th. They had 41 registrants at the beginning of October, and I don't know if that number went up, but I think it probably did. So they're just kind of plugging away on fundraising efforts and trying to get some of that survey information back, and then the Chicago route planning. Healthy Park County, I attended their meeting also I was traveling, so I did theirs through Zoom. Their last meeting in September was on the Wyoming 211 and Communicare, and then in October, their presentation was from Park County DFS. So kind of just still good attendance there, kind of across the community. And what was my other one? The one that I'm on with Lloyd, right?
And court supervised treatment. Have you been?
No, I haven't
there
been
at all?
contacted for that one.
Okay.
And I don't know, do they reach out when they have theirs, or how? I guess I
don't know. We might give them a call.
Okay, so I have not heard.
Madam Chair, the Fair Board meeting, right now Billy's working on pre-act stage. Also, there's discussion on the grandstand and pretty locked in with the figure eights on Friday night, that Saturday with the demolition derby. There was rumors that the derby was going to go away with Donnie Adams retiring, but the Derby Association said that they will continue with it. You've got like pig mud wrestling, but there's still discussion on entertainment if they're still going to do that. So they're weighing some other thoughts. Also with the vendor issues, we've got vendors that maybe showed up for like 10 minutes and then left. So we're trying to come up with an idea to pack those people up, get them out, move somebody else in, or if they've done it before, just to deny their application. Discussions too on some of the pens and such. We need rabbit cages. I guess rabbits are pretty rough on cages for some reason. I've never seen them hanging on them, but
They needed more.
we got to get more of those. So, and also discussions on sheet pens and all the other things that are going on over there, and maybe cooling it off inside there. So that would be our buildings and grounds coming up with an idea, maybe a fan or something inside there. We had a long presentation on the beer garden. Amy from K-Bar wanted to know if it would be possible to have maybe a 2-year commitment instead of each year having to go in. And so that's a discussion as well. It'd be easy for her to order product and get things available if she has a 2-year contract instead of 1. So of course you get into election cycles with us too. So, you know, basically we're Fair Board too. She was also talking about extending hours, maybe having entertainment, and I directed her to the city of Powell, since that is where her license come from the city, as far as running the beer gardens. She'd have to talk to the city of Powell about. So she was also talking about going up into the grandstands with a beer crate, and so she can go to those places and opening up satellite portions. And again, that goes through the city of Powell liquor license. As far as the Parks and Rec Board, they they haven't been real busy, since we announced that they're not getting as much money. They have also gone to a online application, or in the past, people would bring in these large presentations. Now we have the online application where they can come in, say where all their funding's coming from, what kind of funding they already have. The next meeting coming up, it's gonna be a busy one since the baseball programs will be coming in and also the Little League programs will be coming in. So we'll be dealing with that. Dan is also concerned that he's gonna go to jail. He's our chairman and he hasn't filled out the auditor's report correctly and he doesn't know what he's gonna do. So he's hoping to meet with Pauline and they could maybe talk to the auditors together. But it's been an ongoing issue and he's had some pretty threatening letters coming from the state. So it's just one of those unique things that we get to deal with here in our county. And hopefully we get that settled soon. So he says he's just trying to stay out of jail.
The problem is they are not a special district. No. They are completely funded by Park County. We hand them a check and they can give it out. They are not an elected board. They are not, that kind of thing. We appoint them.
State.
The problem is the state.
You're preaching the choir here. Have you got
State consists.
the state of Wyoming?
A special district, so they're required to do all of this audit stuff and the F-31.
There are recreation districts that do get a mill and they do have
yes.
to have an audit.
Shoshone is.
Yeah, and they don't,
Yeah.
the park board does not get a mill. So,
No.
or any portions of any mill.
We have tried
Okay.
everything through the state and they will not let it go.
Madam Chair, maybe what we need to look at is disbanding Parks and Rec Board. Totally disbanding it, getting rid of it. And then just moving it to a county department. Under our budget. It's under our budget now. But could we move it to rec department and give it a number and we do all the paying out of what we give you? And maybe we need to get with Sort and Slate and see if this is a possibility. But I don't know that we're ever gonna get rid of all of the background stuff because I have sent, I don't know how many emails saying this falls under the Park County budget. You can find it on page such and such. They are audited by our firm and it just goes in 1 year out there and not out. And me and Lauren Groskopf worked on it for probably 2 years. Me and Dawson have worked on it. And in anything that I can think of how, my best thing is that we make a move in a meeting and totally get rid of the Parks and Rec Board and put it just as a department under the Park County budget.
Could be,
I don't know, and I don't know if we can legally do that.
could be a committee.
Yeah,
Oh, and issues again, Madam Chair, with growing government more for one.
Yeah.
And
really.
And these-
There.
And these board people, the people that we get on board are more boots on the ground than the
Well,
county is.
We could leave them as a committee under events.
Yeah, could do that.
Put it in the events
Well,
budget and leave them as a committee under event.
I
don't
mean,
know.
it just-
Thoughts.
If we can actually get the person who was upset about this in Cheyenne,
Oh, but this has been going on for 12 years.
yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, 12 years, because I think
Yeah.
it came to my attention in 2015 when it started.
Yeah. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah,
And it's just a constant fight.
and the reason that we have this board is to keep the Little League booking on our agenda at 2:10 in the afternoon, come in and catch the little kids need money. you
Yeah.
know, And Lloyd shooting them down.
Yeah,
So that-
yeah. Can't have that happen.
So I think that, the committee is doing good work.
They
It's just, this is the one issue
Yeah. Right,
that
right.
worries them and worries us and worries the state.
They feel like they have that liability.
Yeah, but I just don't know how else that we can. So that everything is tracked through.
The county.
Well, and if it became under the county, they could still do their meetings.
Yeah.
But the voucher system would have to come through the county then, I'm
Go
guessing.
through events or something.
Yeah.
Which would really, I mean, it could go through that committee. I'm thinking it could still go through that committee. We would just give, so they would have that number somehow, you know, moved over to one of our actual departments where like Dossie would have to sign on. They would, you know, the lead would sign and then Dossie would sign on for payment. So instead of giving you $180,000 check, this person wants 10, this group wants 50, this group, and we would just do each one of them checks individually. But it all.
As
be
they
run
approve
through
them.
us.
Kind of like.
Right,
Yeah.
same
yeah.
budget, just different avenue. Okay, well,
I mean, I don't know what else. I really.
Yeah, that sounds
I
like a
don't
good-
know.
what else you got?
That's it.
Oh, that was kind of light. Okay.
Madam Chair, can we just simply change, would it do any good to change it from board to committee? Just changing the name, so it isn't a board?
Well, see, I think we're gonna have to have official document, because see, the thing is I don't even know where they get that this is a board.
Because we call it a board.
Is that it is a special district though. I don't think the Park County Rec
Because it says
Board
Parks and
has-
Rec.
Yeah, has ever filed to become a special district, ever.
No, but
always been.
my point is, we have other committees that aren't red flagged, but because we call it a board,
Well,
can we
museum-
just,
museum-
just,
Call it the rec.
no, it's listed
Says
right
they-
here, it's Park County Recreation Board.
Dude, it just says Park County
But
Parks and Rec.
so does museum board, so does library board and those, and they're not in
They
the
don't, the
special.
library sells on the F-32.
Well,
Yeah, but some of them,
that's not their only income.
right, yeah.
Oh, well, we'll look
So
into it a
I
little
don't-
more,
I-
see if
They don't
there's
try to fix it, except for maybe just disband it and
start over.
start over.
Okay. Well, Brian, thank you for waiting. The next thing on our agenda, Brian Edwards, Public Works, review and consider a contract change order request for Roadhouse Construction to extend the contract construction completion date for the Powell Library project.
Excuse me. Thanks, Madam Chair. As we're all aware, the Powell Library, new Powell Library construction project's underway and is actually working towards completion, being wrapped up. Originally, they had hoped to have the project done November-ish. And with some changes that that were owner initiated or at least in agreement with, that are gonna basically improve the project, resulted in some delays in materials and some of their subcontractors. And so they're requesting that we a 41-day extension to the substantial completion date to January 8th, 2026. They're not asking for any additional funds, so this would be a no change in cost change order, but it would be an extension of the construction contract by 41 days to January 8th, 2026 for substantial completion and final completion February 8th, 2026. And I'll also say, I mean, the way things are looking and the way the project's going, Roadhouse has done a good job. They've worked hard at it every day they can, and with subcontractors and really their whole team has done a great job and has done everything they can to work when they can. And we believe, and we'll see how this closes out, that we'll end up coming back to you with a contract cost adjustment in the positive direction, where we'll hopefully get a credit of some amount back for that project. So overall, I think things are going really well. They just need a little more time to button up a few things.
Any questions for the commissioners for Brian?
Oh, Madam Chair, I move to approve the construction change order to extend the date with no added cost and allow the chair to sign.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the request for the change order and allow the chair to sign. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed? Motion passes.
Those are the good change orders.
Thank
You
you.
need a resolution on that, do you?
I don't think so.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She's signed.
Oh.
Oh, do you have the other signature on that one?
Yeah, there's 2 copies here if that is.
Is that the same as this one?
Oh,
Yeah, I've got the other signature.
Oh, okay, so I'll.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got one there for you. Yeah, that'd be great.
Here you go. There's your two. Okay, any other business to come before the board today?
Madam Chair, move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Done.